She married Korea's most feared mafia boss for money. But on their wedding night, she stole $47,000 and took his bedroom. Kang Dae-hyun stood at the altar in Gangnam, his jaw carved from frozen fury. At 33, he had dismantled 3 rival organizations, expanded his logistics empire across East Asia, and never bowed to anyone. Yet here he was, trapped in a silk tuxedo by Brioni, waiting for a woman he had never wanted. His grandfather, the retired Gujiak of a quietly powerful Busan syndicate, had made the deal 6 months ago. An alliance with Julian Laurent, a rising Afro-Asian investment group founder based in Seoul. The condition? Marriage to Julian's daughter. A daughter who was not Korean, not even Asian. A daughter who, according to the dossier on his phone, was born in Illinois, carried St. Lucian bloodlines, and had never stepped foot in Korea until 3 weeks ago. Dae-hyun had argued, raged in the controlled way he did everything. His grandfather simply said, "You need her father's ports. She needs our protection. This is business." Then the doors opened. She walked alone. No father giving her away. No maids adjusting her train. Just her. Sana Laurent, 31 years old. 5 feet 9 inches of deliberate grace. Her skin was the color of warm espresso under soft light. High cheekbones. A sharp, intelligent jaw. Full lips painted deep plum. Her eyes held the confidence of someone who had already calculated every exit, every escape route, every dollar. "I didn't marry for love," she would later tell a reporter. "I married for leverage." But that came later. Right now, she walked toward him in smoky charcoal silk that moved like liquid shadow. No veil. No innocence. Diamond studs caught the light. Her hair was cropped into a precision fade on one side, the other swept into glossy finger waves. She did not smile at Dae-hyun. She looked at him the way one examines a balance sheet. The priest began. Dae-hyun's voice was flat. Sana's voice was low, melodic, with a Midwestern undertone wrapped in Caribbean warmth. When it was over, his grandfather nodded once. The lieutenants clapped politely. The reception lasted exactly 42 minutes. Sana ate nothing. She held sparkling water, posed for 3 photos, and disappeared into the powder room. When she emerged, her clutch was fuller. Dae-hyun later learned she had slipped the wedding cash gifts into her bag. $47,000 in crisp bills, before the cake was cut. But she was hiding something. He didn't know it yet. Their first conversation as spouses happened in the back of his Mercedes GLE Coupe 63. Black exterior, red interior. The leather smelled of rich aniline and his cologne, oud, bergamot, cold smoke. She sat in the rear passenger seat, leaving the middle empty. He sat opposite her. "You don't speak much," he said in Korean. She replied in flawless Korean, accent precise but too perfect, learned from a textbook. "I speak when there is profit in it." He studied her. Dark tailored pantsuit by the row. Cream silk shell. Manolo Blahnik heels in matte nude. "You know this marriage isn't real." Sana finally looked at him. Her eyes were aged bourbon, amber with flecks of gold. "Of course it's real. It's registered. It has tax implications. It's a binding contract." A pause. "But you mean emotionally?" "No, I'm not confused about that. Men confuse beauty with obedience." She had written in a journal he would find months later. "I am neither obedient nor confused." Dae-hyun felt irritation. She was too calm, too composed. "I'd like to see the apartment," she said. "Not our apartment. The apartment." He took her to the penthouse in Cheongdam-dong. 4,000 square feet of glass and marble. She walked through every room, checked the water pressure, opened every closet. Then she pointed to the primary bedroom. "I'll take this one. You take the guest suite." "Excuse me? You don't want to share a bed with me." "I don't want to share with you." She unclasped her earrings. "You cover household expenses, security, and vehicle access. I'll need the Mercedes twice a week." Dae-hyun folded his arms. 6 feet 1. Lean, broad-shouldered. A face women called devastating, sharp nose, angular jaw, eyes so dark they looked black. He wore a custom Zegna suit, navy with a subtle window pane, no tie. "You've planned this." "I've planned my life since I was 12. She placed the earrings into a velvet pouch. You're not the variable. You're the constant. The marriage lasts 3 years. After that, I walk with the shares my father transferred, the Gangnam property, and 2% of your logistics revenue for 18 months as spousal transition fees. Dae-hyun stared at her. She stared back, unblinking. That night, he stood in the guest suite and stared at the western sky. He could hear her moving in the primary bedroom. Suitcase thuds, hanger clicks, then silence. At 11 p.m., she walked past his door in a silk robe the color of burnt sienna, hair wrapped in a cream turban. She did not look at him. "Good night, Mr. Kong. Good night, Mrs. Kong." She paused, just a fraction. Then she continued walking. He waited for her to correct him. She never did. And that was the first unsettling thing about Sana Loran. She never corrected him. She never asked for warmth. She never begged. She simply calculated. Later that night, alone in his room, he opened the security feed from the living room. Not to watch her, he told himself, but to ensure safety. She sat on the terrace, phone to her ear, speaking English. "He doesn't suspect anything," she said. 3 years. Then I'm gone. A pause. "Yes, I know he's handsome. That's not the point. The point is the money." She laughed softly. "If I wanted softness, I'd buy pillows." She hung up. Dae-hyun closed the feed. He felt nothing, or so he told himself. But he didn't sleep. 3 months passed. Dae-hyun learned to exist in the same space as his wife without speaking to her for days. She woke at 6 a.m., did yoga in the living room, Lululemon Aligns and a cashmere hoodie, then disappeared into her office, a converted den filled with a Herman Miller chair, dual monitors, and a whiteboard covered in flowcharts. She didn't work for her father. She worked for herself. Sana Loran was building a luxury import brand focused on Korean skincare, adapted for melanin-rich skin. Lab partner in Cheonan. Packaging designer in Milan. A silent investor she refused to name. Dae-hyun's security team monitored everything. Not to control her, to protect her. His enemies had a habit of targeting people he loved. He did not love Sana, but she was a Kong now. One Tuesday evening, he came home to find her on the terrace, phone pressed to her ear, laughing. A real laugh, rich, throaty, unrestrained. She wore a Machino jumpsuit in matte black, sleeves ruched, waist cinched with a gold chain belt. Her feet were bare. Her toenails were deep burgundy. "No, tell him I'll sign the lease on Thursday," she said, "and remind him that if the Gangnam flagship doesn't open by March, the penalty clause doubles." She hung up, saw him, didn't flinch. "You're home early." The meeting ended. She tilted her head. "Are you asking as a husband or as a host? Does it matter?" "It does to my calendar. If it's business, I have 30 minutes at 8 p.m. If it's personal, I have no availability." Dae-hyun felt something hot crawl up his spine. "What personal life do you have? You go to the lab, meet suppliers, come home. You don't have friends here." "I have 12,000 followers on a private Instagram account where I review hotel minibars," she said flatly. "That's personal enough." She walked past him. He caught her perfume, saffron, sandalwood, something smoky. That night he ate alone. Michelin-starred meal from his private chef. Sana ate in her room. Arugula, shaved fennel, walnuts, lemon vinaigrette. No carbs, no sugar. At 10 p.m., she knocked on his door. He opened it. She held a tablet. "I need you to approve the security detail for the flagship launch. Your men are efficient, but they dress like they're going to a funeral. Navy or charcoal. No black. You want to style my security team. I want my investors to feel safe, not arrested." She handed him the tablet. "Also, the penthouse needs new drapes. The current ones are depressing. I've selected 3 options from a textile house in Como." He looked at the screen. Drapes in ivory bamboo silk, muted celadone, and deep terracotta. The terracotta. Interesting. I expected celadone. I don't like being predictable. She almost smiled. Noted. She left. He watched her go. Her pajamas were a matching set from Sleeper, feather-trimmed cuffs in mauve linen. The next morning, he found coffee on his nightstand. Americano, extra shot, no sugar, perfect temperature. His order. She had never asked what he drank. He texted, "How did you know?" Her reply came 2 hours later. "Your credit card statement. December. You bought coffee 17 times. He typed back, "That's invasive." She replied, "That's marriage." "I'm joking. Mostly." Daehyun laughed. Alone. In his car. His driver pretended not to notice. Then one night he couldn't sleep. He walked to the living room at 2 a.m. Her door was slightly open. She was asleep on her side, one hand under her pillow, her hair loose across the white pillowcase. She looked softer than he had ever seen her. He stood in the doorway for longer than he should have, watching her breathe. He told himself it was security protocol. It was not security protocol. The next day, a mail supplier visited her office. Italian, tall, too familiar with her personal space. He laughed at something she said, touched her arm. Daehyun watched from the kitchen, coffee mug frozen halfway to his lips. He didn't say anything. But later, he asked his head of security for the man's full background check. Standard protocol, he said. It was not standard protocol. He started buying her favorite tea, Jasmine Silver Needle, and leaving it in the kitchen without comment. He noticed when she skipped lunch and ordered her favorite salad from the place 2 blocks away. He noticed when she was tired, when she was stressed, when she had been crying, though she would never admit the last one. "You're staring," she said one evening, not looking up from her laptop. "I'm observing. Men observe. Women calculate." She finally looked at him. "Learn the difference." Then someone from his past returned. Her name was Yoon Jia, his ex-fiancée, the woman who had walked away 3 years ago because she couldn't handle the life. Now she was back, standing in his office lobby in a cream silk dress, diamonds at her throat, a smile that said she had made a mistake and wanted to fix it. "Daehyun," she said, reaching for his hand. "I heard you married. I came to congratulate you." He didn't move. "You're late. The wedding was 3 months ago. I want to meet her. Your wife. She doesn't do meetings without appointments." Jia's smile tightened. "I heard she's not Korean. She's from Illinois and St. Lucia. And she's standing behind you." Sana had materialized in the doorway. She wore a Tom Brown skirt suit in heather gray, knee-high boots in matte black, her hair in a sleek low ponytail. No diamonds today, just a single gold cuff on her wrist. Jia turned, looked Sana up and down, the way women do when they are measuring. "You're temporary," Jia said quietly. Sana smiled. It was the coldest thing Daehyun had ever seen. "Then why am I wearing his ring?" She held up her left hand. The diamond caught the light. Jia's face flickered. "I'll see myself out," Jia said. "Please do," Sana replied. The door closed. Daehyun looked at his wife. She looked at him. "You don't wear a ring," he said. "You don't even own one." "I bought one this morning." She slipped it off. A 7-carat emerald-cut diamond. "I saw her car outside. I assumed." "You assumed correctly." She nodded once, turned, walked away. "Sana." She paused but didn't turn. "Thank you." She said nothing. Walked into her office. Closed the door. That night he heard her on the phone again. But this time her voice was different. "I could leave tomorrow and feel nothing," she said. A long pause. "I know I'm lying. That's the problem." He walked away before she could see him. Winter in Seoul. Sana's brand, Laurentic, prepared for its flagship opening. The space was white oak floors, custom brass shelving, lighting designed by a former opera stage manager. 47 skincare products formulated for melanin-rich skin using Korean ingredients. Daehyun attended the private preview because she asked. He stood beside her for 2 hours while she greeted 50 guests. Editors, buyers, influencers, and her silent investor, a Nigerian-Korean venture capitalist named Imani Chai, who hugged Sana like a sister. Sana wore a gown by Christopher John Rogers, violet and ochre, a cape sleeve that swept the floor. Her hair was a high puff. Her earrings were sculptural gold hoops. She glowed. The launch was a triumph. Orders came faster than the lab could fill. By midnight, the champagne was gone, and Sana stood alone in her empty flagship. Daehyun approached. "Congratulations." "Thank you." "You're not celebrating." "I'm planning." She turned. "Your cousin, Kang Suk-jin. He met with my father. Offered to buy my shares for 40% below market value. His blood cooled. That's impossible. Suk-jin doesn't have that capital. He does if he's partnered with someone. She pulled up a file on her phone. Someone who wants to hurt you. The name on the screen. Hwang Jin-sol. Former partner. Former friend. The man who had tried to kill Dae-hyun 5 years ago. He's back, Dae-hyun said. He's been back for 6 months. And he's bankrolling Suk-jin to take everything. Your business. Your marriage. Your grandfather's legacy. We don't have a real marriage. She looked at him. He doesn't know that. And if he finds out, he'll use it. Publicly. Your grandfather's reputation. Your stock. My brand. All tied to a sham wedding. What do you propose? We make it real. The words hung in the air. Not that kind of real, she said quickly, though color rose up her neck. Real in perception. Public appearances. Joint Instagram. We need to be seen as united. You want to pretend to be in love. I want to perform partnership at the highest level. This is a hostile takeover defense. The asset is our marriage. Fine, he said. But if we're performing, you come to my events. You let me open doors for you. You let people believe I'm slightly possessive. That's very traditional. That's very convincing. Sana's lips curved. You're learning. I'm a fast learner. The performance began 3 days later. First event. A charity gala. She wore saffron silk with dramatic asymmetry. He wore black velvet Tom Ford. His hand on her back. Her leaning in. Photographers erupted. Headlines. Mafia boss and his beautiful wife stun, and who is Sana Laurent? She showed him the articles over breakfast. She had made him eggs scrambled, soft, perfect. You're learning too, he said. I'm adapting. There's a difference. Then everything exploded. Suk-jin made his move. A leaked document claimed the marriage was a financial transaction. Anonymous sources confirmed Sana had never lived with her husband. Stock dipped. Investors panicked. Hwang Jin-sol's name appeared in 3 separate reports. Dae-hyun came home to find Sana pacing the living room. Phone in hand, her face tight. We need to do something, she said. I'm handling it. Handling it how? I have men. Men with guns don't fix public relations. He stepped closer. What do you suggest? She stopped pacing. Looked at him. We do a live interview. Together. Tonight. Absolutely not. Then you lose everything. Your grandfather built this family for 80 years. Are you going to let Hwang destroy it because you're afraid of a camera? He stared at her. She stared back. Fine, he said. Tonight. The interview was scheduled for 9 p.m. A respected journalist. Soft lighting. A studio designed to feel like a living room. Sana wore a cream Ralph Lauren cashmere sweater and tailored navy trousers. Minimal makeup. Her hair natural curled around her face. She looked like a woman who had nothing to hide. Dae-hyun wore a simple charcoal sweater. No jacket. No tie. Human. Approachable. The journalist asked, Is your marriage real? Sana reached over and took Dae-hyun's hand. His fingers closed around hers. Everything with you feels calculated. He had said to her 2 hours before the interview in the car. She had replied, Because loving men like you is dangerous. Then she had left the car, walked into the studio, and now she was holding his hand on live television. This marriage, Sana said, looking directly into the camera, is the most real thing I've ever done. Dae-hyun squeezed her hand. My wife, he said, is the only person who has ever looked at me and seen nothing to fear. The journalist smiled. The segment went viral. Stock recovered within 48 hours. But that night, after the cameras were gone, they had their first real argument. Everything with you feels calculated, he said again, back in the penthouse. No cameras. No performance. Because it is calculated, she snapped. I calculate everything. That's how I survived. That's how I got here. That's how I built my company while you were busy pretending I didn't exist. I never pretended. You ignored me for 3 months. Because you told me to. I told you to because I didn't trust you. They stood facing each other, breathing hard. The terracotta drapes were still. The city lights blinked outside. Why don't you trust me? He asked. Because trusting men like you is how women like me get hurt. Men like me. Dangerous men. Powerful men. Men who can destroy everything with one phone call. I would never. You don't know that. Her voice cracked. The first crack he had ever heard. You don't know what you would do if someone threatened your empire. You don't know if you choose me or your legacy. He stepped closer. I would choose you. Stop. I would choose you, Sana. Stop looking at me like that. Like what? She whispered. Like I already belong to you. He cupped her face. You don't belong to me. You never have. I belong to you. Then he kissed her. It was not gentle. It was not careful. It was 3 months of coffee and terracotta drapes and watching her sleep and pretending not to care. It was her laugh and his silence. It was the smell of saffron and the taste of her lipstick. She pulled back, gasping. We shouldn't. We should. This is dangerous. Everything worth having is dangerous. He kissed her again. She melted, just for a second. Then she pushed him away. No, she said. Not like this. Not after a fight. Not because we're angry and scared. Then when? When we're sure. I'm sure. You're not. She touched his cheek. And neither am I. But I want to be. She walked to her bedroom. Paused at the door. Good night, Daehyun. Good night, Sana. She disappeared. He stood in the living room, alone, and realized he had never been more certain of anything in his life. February brought Lunar New Year. 3 days of rituals, feasts, and forced proximity with Kong relatives who smiled with their teeth but not their eyes. Sana prepared like a general. She studied the family tree, learned the proper bow, memorized the exact respect to show Grandfather Kong. The family home was a traditional hanok in Bukshan. Grandfather Kong, 87, sharp-eyed, still terrifying, greeted them at the gate. She bowed. Perfect angle. You wear hanbok well, he said. She had chosen a geoggery in deep plum silk, the chima skirt in cream with peony embroidery. Her hair was parted low and held with a sterling pin. Thank you, grandfather. Your home is beautiful. He grunted, but his eyes softened. The first day passed smoothly. The second day brought Jia. Daehyun's ex-fiancée had been invited by an aunt who didn't know it would be awkward. Jia arrived in a burgundy dress, hair in elaborate waves, diamonds at her ears. She smiled at Sana with the warmth of a winter storm. You look comfortable, Jia said, for someone so out of place. Sana smiled back. I'm from Illinois. We know how to make ourselves comfortable anywhere. You're not from here. You'll never be from here. I don't need to be from here. I just need to be here. Jia leaned closer. He'll tire of you. He tired of me. He tires of everyone. Sana tilted her head. Then why are you here? Why come back if he tired of you? Jia's smile flickered. She walked away. Later, Sana overheard the aunts in the kitchen. They spoke in Korean, fast and low, thinking she couldn't understand. Foreign bride. What did grandfather expect? Beautiful but not our kind. She'll never bear proper Korean children. Sana stood in the hallway, frozen. The words landed like small stones. She had heard worse. In Illinois, in New York, in London. She had built a career on ignoring such words. But tonight, in this house, wearing this hanbok, trying so hard, they landed differently. She walked to the courtyard, sat under the pine tree, and cried. Not loud, not dramatic, just silent tears that slid down her cheeks and disappeared into the silk of her collar. She heard footsteps. Daehyun. He sat beside her, said nothing, just sat. They said I'll never be one of you, she whispered. They're wrong. They're not wrong. I'm not Korean. I'll never be Korean. You're Kong. He took her hand. That's more important. She laughed bitterly. You didn't want this marriage. I didn't want an arranged marriage. I want you. You want the performance. I want the woman who stole $47,000 on her wedding night and took my bedroom. He squeezed her hand. I want the woman who built a company while I ignored her. I want the woman who faced my ex-fiancé and didn't blink. Sana wiped her eyes. I blinked. Just now. In the hallway. I know. He pulled her closer. But you're still here. Yes. Why? She looked at him. His dark eyes. His sharp jaw. The man who had terrified Korea and softened only for her. Because you're here. Grandfather Kong found them like that. Sitting under the pine tree, her head on his shoulder, his arm around her. The old man smiled. Walked back inside without a word. That night, Daehyun asked her to stay in his room. Not for anything physical. Just to sleep. She lay on one side of the bed. He lay on the other. The space between them was filled with everything unsaid. I could leave tomorrow, she said quietly, and feel nothing. He turned to look at her. Could you? A long silence. No, she whispered. That's the problem. He reached across the space between them, took her hand. Then don't leave. I had another fiancé, she said. In America, before I came here. Daehyun's hand tightened. What? His name was Michael. We were together for 2 years. He proposed. I said yes. She stared at the ceiling. Then my father told me about this deal. About the ports. About the money. I broke off the engagement 3 days before the wedding. Why are you telling me this? Because you deserve to know. Because I came here as a liar and a fraud. Because I pretended to be cold and calculating when really I was just... Her voice broke. Scared. Scared of what? Scared of needing anyone. Scared of loving anyone. Scared of ending up like my mother. Loving someone so much that when they died, she had nothing left. Daehyun shifted closer. Your mother loved your father. She loved him too much. When she got sick, she didn't tell him for 6 months because she didn't want to burden him. She died alone in a hospital room while he was at a business meeting. That won't happen to you. You don't know that. I know that I would burn every meeting, every contract, every port for you. He touched her face. I know that I would choose you, every time. No hesitation. She turned to look at him. Tears on her cheeks. You don't even know me. I know you take your coffee black. I know you cry alone. I know you pretend to be cold because being soft hurt you once. He wiped her tears. I know you love me, even though you won't say it. She kissed him. Soft, slow, a confession. When they pulled apart, she said, I love you. I didn't want to. I fought it. But I love you. He pulled her close. I love you too. I've loved you since you walked down that aisle and didn't smile. They slept, wrapped in each other. The space between them gone. Spring arrived. Cherry blossoms exploded along the streets. Sana's flagship celebrated 3 months with revenues that exceeded every projection. She had done it alone. No help from her father. No investment from Daehyun. Just her brain, her work ethic, and a skincare line that had become a cult favorite. Daehyun watched her success with something he had never felt. Humility. He had spent his life surrounded by people who needed him. Sana needed nothing. She stayed because she wanted to. Then Hwang Jinsol made his final move. He kidnapped Grandfather Kong. Not for ransom. For humiliation. He wanted Daehyun to crawl. To beg. To surrender everything in exchange for the old man's life. Daehyun stood in his war room. A soundproofed space beneath the penthouse. Surrounded by lieutenants. Maps on the wall. Weapons on the table. Men waiting for orders. I want every location, he said. Every safe house. Every warehouse. I want Hwang found within the hour. His head of security nodded. We have 12 possible locations. That's too many. Sana walked in. She wore a black Balenciaga blazer over a white tee, black trousers, combat boots. Her hair was pulled back. No makeup. She looked like a soldier. I found him, she said. Everyone turned. I have a contact in Busan. Hwang is at an abandoned textile factory in Incheon. 45 minutes from here. 20 guards. 3 exits. Daehyun stared at her. How? I've been tracking him for 6 months. I told you. I don't let anyone hurt what's mine. He crossed the room. Took her face in his hands. You stay here. No. You stay here, Sana. This is my fight. Grandfather is my family too. Her voice was steel. I'm coming. He wanted to argue, but he saw her face. Saw the same stubbornness that had built an empire, stolen $47,000, and made him fall in love. Stay behind me, he said. Always behind me. Fine. The convoy left at midnight. 3 Mercedes GLE coupes. Black exterior. Red interior. Daehyun and Sana in the middle car. The factory was dark. Broken windows. Graffiti. The smell of rust and rain from the night before. Daehyun moved like smoke. His men flanked him. Sana stayed behind him, close enough to touch, far enough to be safe. The first guard fell silently. The second. The third. Then Hwang appeared. Grandfather Kong on his knees, hands bound, mouth taped. Hwang held a blade to the old man's throat. Daehyun, Hwang said, smiling. You came. Let him go. Give me everything. The ports. The company. The wife. Hwang looked at Sana. Especially the wife. She's beautiful. I understand why you're obsessed. Daehyun stepped forward. Let him go, or I will kill you slowly. You're not in a position. Sana moved. Later, Daehyun would rewatch the security footage 100 times. She didn't run. She didn't scream. She simply stepped out from behind him, walked toward Hwang, and said, You've never met anyone like me. Hwang laughed. A woman with a mouth. A woman with a plan. She reached into her blazer, pulled out a small device, pressed a button. Every light in the factory exploded into blinding white. Hwang dropped the blade, hands flying to his eyes. Grandfather Kong crawled away. Daehyun's men moved in. It was over in 11 seconds. Hwang was on the ground, disarmed, surrounded. Grandfather Kong was safe. Sana stood in the center of the chaos, the device still in her hand. What was that? Daehyun asked. Military-grade flash device. I told you. My security team is former special ops. You brought a flash bomb to a hostage rescue. I brought insurance to a hostage rescue. She slipped the device back into her blazer. Grandfather, are you hurt? The old man looked at her. His eyes were wet. You came for me. Your family. He pulled her into a hug. Sana stiffened, then melted. Just for a second. Daehyun watched, and fell in love all over again. 3 years later, the penthouse in Cheongdam-dong was no longer cold. The terracotta drapes had been joined by family photos. Sana and Daehyun on a beach in St. Lucia. His grandfather holding their daughter, Yuri, named for the Korean word for glass because she was transparent in her wants. Laurentic had expanded to Tokyo, Singapore, and New York. Sana was on the cover of Forbes Korea. Daehyun's logistics empire had gone legitimate, shipping pharmaceuticals and medical supplies, no questions asked, because power meant nothing without peace. They renewed their vows on the terrace, under the same sky where they had first held hands. Sana wore a Vera Wang gown in champagne silk, simple and devastating. Her hair was loose and curly, her feet bare. Daehyun wore a cream linen suit, no tie. The first time I married you, he said, looking into her eyes, I had no choice. Today I choose you in front of the world. Not because of a contract. Not because of ports or money or family. Because you are the only person who has ever seen me. All of me. And stayed. Sana's eyes filled with tears. The first time I married you, I planned to leave. I calculated every dollar. Every exit. I thought I was marrying a monster. Instead, I married a man who learns his wife's coffee order. Who notices when she cries alone. Who chooses her over power. She squeezed his hands. You chose me, Daehyun, and I choose you. Today. Tomorrow. Always. Their daughter, Yuri, now too, toddled down the makeshift aisle with flower petals, most of which ended up in her hair. Grandfather Kong wept openly.
Hey loves, this story teaches us that not all beginnings are built on love or honesty, but when people choose to see, understand, and fight for each other, beyond fear, pride, and power, even the most calculated relationships can transform into real connection. Thank you so much for watching. Kindly like and subscribe.